It's time for the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU, the official local sports show here in Glasgow and Barron County. And now, alongside John Butler, here is your host, James Brown.
Well, John, the baseball playoffs are here. They actually got started Sunday for the 15th District. Barron County went out there and they beat Allen County Scottsville 5-1, jumped on them 4-0 in the bottom of the first inning. And from there, Eli Stamper kind of settled in for Allen County on the mound. And you know, Barron didn't really threaten any more runs. And I think they got one more in the fifth, I think is where they got the other one. And that basically was generated by a double from Axel Dysom, and then, you know, they managed to scrap around and get that run in, insurance run. And I guess, meanwhile, also, Skylar Potter was settled in from the get-go for the Trojans because he gave up 4 hits. I think he struck out 5, just was on target. He walked 1 in the game, so he didn't, give up any free bases. And the defense played well behind him, made some great plays, catches in the outfield, some good infield plays as well. It was all the recipe you need to win a first-round district game, John.
Yeah, it's perfect. That was you can't ask for a better start to your postseason play. To go out there in your first game against a team you should beat in Allen County, but you struggled just a couple of weeks ago to beat Allen.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to score 6 in the bottom of the 7 to come back and win, and to go out and get 4 in the first, to take a 4-0 lead and kind of stamp yourself as, we're in charge of this and we're not going to lose this game. That was a really impressive game. And sometimes you never know how these things are going to go. Barron is very senior-dominated. They start, I think, 6 out of their 9 starters are seniors. And, but they played like experienced seniors who had been there. Sometimes, the nerves actually sometimes affect seniors maybe more so than younger players because younger players know they got more chances.
Right.
But Barron's, they went out and just established themselves. It always helps, too, when your pitcher throws well. And Skylar Potter, as you mentioned, he only threw 86 pitches.
Yeah, that part is kind of insane when you think about it.
Very efficient. The game lasted, I think, maybe an hour and 30 minutes, 35 minutes quick. But to get a 4-0 lead and to go out there and win 5-1, just really, really, really impressive. They just started off the game with, the top of Barron's order is just really, really good. I mean, they're good. They've got good balance, but J.P. Hyde and Jackson Reese are really kind of the perfect 1-2 batters. J.P. I think started with a walk, and Jackson Reese is just a really. He fits that 2-hole really well because he can bunt.
Uh-huh.
He hits like 392, so he can hit too. But he's just a good player, and he bunted I think JP over, but also got on base on the bunt as well.
Yeah, it was a beautiful bunt. I asked Coach Estes about it after the game because it was just he sometimes people bunt and they just bunt it down third baseline, bunt it down first baseline, et cetera, et cetera. He bunted like somebody would try to hit into a gap because basically that's what he did. He just read the reaction of the defense and put the bunt where the defense wasn't. It was a beautiful bunt.
It's just a good player. And then after that, I think it was Sutton Hyde got a hit, scored one, and then Axel Dyson had a really good, he had a nice game. He came up with the bases loaded, base hit up the middle, 2 more RBIs. He was 2 for 3 for the game, and after that it was. I'm not going to say. I mean, you still have to work. You got to earn it. But if you're kind of neutral and just watching a game, it looked like a very comfortable win for Barron. To win 5-1 and to move on. And that's exactly what you want. He only used 1 pitcher.
Yeah.
And that pitcher only threw 86 pitches, so he will easily be able to come back Monday with no strain at all in the first round of the region if they choose to do that. They may want to. It depends on who you play. You don't have to. When you get to the region, it's about you got to win a region, not necessarily just to win one game. You got to win 3. So pitching decisions is really, really important. But that was a really good win for Barron. And for Sunday afternoon too, it was perfect weather conditions too.
Yeah, it was a nice day, and it looks like it's going to work out to be a nice day here today. We were a little concerned about the weather. The forecast coming into the weekend looked like it might be a little rough because Friday was rough. I mean, it wasn't One thing, we got pretty fortunate Friday night.
Yes,
if
we
you
did.
look at that track of that storm that hit London, Kentucky, and Somerset and Corbin and
passed
over
right
that area.
through us.
Yeah, it went right over the top of us. Basically, it just traveled on Highway 68 across the state, lower part of the state. And so, we're fortunate that we are not one of those places right now dealing with the damage and the aftermath of that and talking about that instead of these baseball games that we have going on.
The other side note about Barron finished 22-10, and the big game obviously was the game Sunday, but they played three teams, and two of those teams last week were in the top 25.
That's right.
And they lost to Bowling Green 5-4, came back and beat Taylor on the road. Taylor County's top 10, I think, in the state.
Yeah, I think they were like number 5 at that time.
Yeah, beat them 16-8, and then lost to another top 10 team in South Warren 3-0 on Thursday, which was probably a really a good week for them, get them ready for the Allen game on Sunday. They played 3 good games Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They had a couple of days off and then came back and got the good win.
Yeah. Today, of course, Glasgow and Warren East play each other at 5:30 over at Richardson Stadium in Gorham Park. And the Scotties, we've talked about this all year. My son was doing some stats, and he had done a thing where he said if Glasgow had averaged the same number of runs that Barron did this year, which is like 6 a game, somewhere in that window, they'd have won 10 more games. Like that's how close they are. Now 6 runs in high school is a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
But nonetheless, it is kind of an indication of how close they are because their defense and their pitching has been good enough all year to win games. I mean, heck, they could have averaged 4 probably all year and won.
Their pitching's been good enough. Their defense at times has been shaky.
Yeah, that's true.
It was very shaky the last Barron County game.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you're right, just offense. And, just last week they never scored more than 2 runs. They played Greene County, lost 3-2.
Yeah.
And then beat Monroe 2-0 behind a shutout by Carter Hodges, who I assume will get the ball today against Warren East.
Yeah.
I assume. He had a shutout.
Seems to be their best pitcher.
7 strikeouts and so forth. But, yeah, Glasgow has a fighting chance against Warren East. The problem, though, is that even though Warren East is 9-18, maybe the most deceiving record in the state.
Right.
Because I keep telling you, they've got the pitching that can win it.
Yeah.
Not the district, the region, because they got 3 pitchers.
Yeah.
But the problem that Glasgow faces is that East's strength is their pitching. And they lost to them 12-2 and 4-0. And, again, if they're going to beat East, it's probably going to have to be 1-0 or 2-1 because you're not going to hit. I assume it's going to be Bratcher will pitch today.
Yeah.
But they've got 3 good ones. I guess they could go to their second best, which is Escavera, or I can't remember his name. Vincent's good too for them. But I assume in a must-win situation that they would go with their best. Now it seems to me that Bratcher is their best. So Glasgow's going to have to find a way to scratch out at least a couple of runs to beat a Warren East team that you look on paper, only 9 wins. You go, that doesn't look like they're, a very good season. But look who they played. I think they played Trinity. I think they played St. X. They played all the Bowling Green schools. When they went to Florida, they played those academy schools down in Florida. They didn't play, some of the easier, Podunkville.
Yeah, McCreary County.
They played some of those academy schools that bring in players. So Warren East will be formidable, but Glasgow's pitching will give them a chance. They just got to score.
Well, and that is the thing. I mean, it's as you mentioned, the 2 scores in those games. They were actually up, I think, 1-0 in that first game, and ended up losing that game 12-2. And I mean, they did it because they scrapped around and got the runs, but then the pitching just didn't hold up, and then they had some errors once the pitching kind of fell apart on them, and they just have not been able to generate the runs. I mean, it's the old cliche of if you are the team that's not expected to win the game and the other team is better than you, they may not look better by record, but talent-wise, they certainly have looked better. Talking about Warren East, you got to play a perfect game.
Yeah, and Glasgow has. I forgot to check the stats this morning, but as of a week ago, they have not had a home run all year.
Yeah, I still don't think they have.
So that's rare because Richardson Field it's a very home run friendly down one side.
Yeah.
So that's rare to not do that. So if you're not going to listen, there's a lot of high school teams that don't hit a lot of home runs. So
right.
you got to generate offense other ways, but it's rare to have nobody hit one. So, they're going to have to find a way, use their speed and put pressure on the defense. You don't need a lot of strikeouts. You need to at least make Warren East catch it and throw you out and so forth. So we'll see. They're going to have a great day to play. It's beautiful right now, an hour before game time. It's really nice.
Well, you can listen to that game on 103.1 WCLU Blue with Joe Myers on the call. So we'll have that on there. We had some issues with our streaming yesterday. We're not running the video, but we're doing the streaming online. But we had some issues that we've been working to get fixed today. So hopefully that'll be fixed by tonight. Or
the radio part's fine.
Yes, you can definitely tune in to your radio and listen to it. So if you want to listen to it on 103.1 on your radio, if you're one of those people like me that has a dusty one in a closet somewhere because I stream a lot of things.
Well, if you're out of the coverage area, though, you'd have to go online. Though.
Yeah, that's right. We'll reach out there and touch you, though, pretty far. Anyway, so you can hear that game today. I was going to mention this before we get out of this segment. I had it in the next segment. I was going to mention this real quick, that the draws for the regional tournament will be at 4 o'clock Thursday at Allen County Scottsville.
Assuming all district games are over, right?
That is correct. That's the caveat it says in the email, as a matter of fact. So we won't know when teams will be playing next Monday until Thursday afternoon, hopefully Thursday afternoon, which also will affect this show because depending on what the schedule is next week over at the regional tournaments, if I have to be over there during the show time or in a window where there's no way we can get the show done, then we won't have a show next week. But we'll let you all know that.
You'll be having a ball game on at that time.
That is correct. Yeah, you'll tune in to hear us, and you'll be happy to hear about ball game instead. But anyway, back to the district real quick. So the baseball championship is tomorrow at 5:30. The games are at Richardson Stadium, and going back to how Barron played yesterday, that group of seniors played like a team that was disappointed with how last season ended up. And I think they've approached this whole season, despite everything, playing with that kind of attitude. And I thought that's part of what showed up yesterday in that game.
Played really well. They've had a fantastic season. Give them credit because they've had some, everybody claims adversity. That's all just watch all the interviews from the pros, the college. Everybody's overcoming something. And I'm sure everybody does. But the team has, gone through several coaching changes this year.
Yeah, since December.
That's correct. And they've held it together, and not only have held it together, they have strived. They've played really, really well. And Coach Estes right now, who's in charge, is obviously pushing the right buttons, and I think his level-headedness has really helped too. So give them a whole lot of credit. The team has overcome a lot of things and has put themselves in position. They're in position to win a district title and to win a region.
Yep. Anything else on the baseball front, John?
No, just this is a great time of year for it. We just need to, hopefully the weather has been very dicey in the spring and downright extreme and dangerous at times.
Yep.
It'd be nice if we can get, some good weather next couple of weeks where we get a lot of these games in.
Yep. All right, it's the Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
The 15th District Softball Tournament begins today. They did not play a Sunday game. They're playing them both today. So the first game will be the Barron County versus Glasgow game. And you can hear that game on 104.7 WCLU Burgundy with Jay Turner on the call. That game starts at 5:30. I think the pregame's at 5:15, thereabouts. In order to talk about how Barron and Glasgow ended up playing each other in the first round, I think we should start with the impressive win that Barron County had at Allen County on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's why Barron's playing Glasgow.
Right.
It's not just the win, it's the margin.
Yes. I mean, and that we were talking about the baseball game.
6-1.
Yeah. I mean, they came out and they played that game like it really mattered. And I guess it really did to them. I think they were some of the players were a little upset about a couple of things. One is that they lost the first time they played Allen, 10-7, in a game I think in which 6 home runs were hit, and also it must have felt kind of odd to try to continue to try to get the game in. And
they had traveled the day before.
Yeah.
No fault of Allen. I mean,
it was the third third reschedule of the game, I believe, when they finally got it played on Wednesday. And so I think the Barron County players were a bit fired up about that situation too. Yeah, because they were down there waiting to play Tuesday when it rained, and then the game got called, so they had to come back down to Allen on Wednesday and play it. And so they played the game like a team that was motivated. Shea Bogue pitched well.
4 hits, 1 run, 7 strikeouts against a powerful. Allen is probably the second best hitting team in the region behind South Warren.
That's right. And so her pitching performance was impressive. The defense made some outstanding plays in the game.
Josie Moore, right?
Yep. Yeah, she had let's stop on her real quick because she made at least 3 stops that she got the throwouts at first. And all of them were hard. Two of them were going to her right away from first base and basically stopping the ground ball, then picking it up and throwing it out. And the other one was, I think she went down to her knees to stop it going toward first base and got it out.
Me. Her mother was a fantastic softball player.
Is that right? Who was her mother?
Jamie Jones.
Oh, okay.
She was on the first fast pitch team, 95 team that I was the assistant coach, and she was an infielder and pitcher. Great set of hands.
Yeah.
Also a guard on the basketball team too, on our state tournament team. But she had great hands, could hit. She was a tremendous player.
Yeah.
I would put her in the top 10 players that Barron's ever produced, to be honest with you. But she was really, really good. So I was happy for, to see her daughter out there and showing that kind of similar instincts and so forth. But that was a big win, just a 6-1 win. It doesn't surprise me that Barron won.
Yeah.
Because I think the two teams are close.
Right.
But the margin and just to hold Allen to 1 is, that didn't happen very often. So
yeah, not at all, really.
Riley Adala, she had a fantastic game. Right?
Yep.
She's a catcher, right?
Yep.
Yeah, she was 4 for 4, 3 RBIs.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like every time she came up, there were people on base, and every time she came up, she came through too.
Yep.
So just Barron had to win by 4 or more.
Yep.
To both Barron and Allen finished at 5-1, and in softball, at least this district, it's by the margin, right? Scoring margin or whatever, and that was Barron got 1 more run, and that was the difference. So that's why Barron's playing Glasgow. Wasn't a coin flip, and Allen is playing Warren East, and just that should be a tremendous game.
Yeah, and I think the bottom line, not to knock Glasgow, because overall they've played a lot better lately. Now, that Clinton County game they played last week was not an example of that, but the 4 games before that were pretty good examples.
They were, and Glasgow had played better. Now, last week they got beat 12-3 by Allen and 13-0.
Yeah.
But before that, they'd won 3 out of 4. So, I don't think it's a walkover for Barron. I think Barron will have to, they won't take them lightly. But,
right.
But it, I think it could be closer than people think, though the 2 games prior have not been. Barron has blown out Glasgow twice. But it's, if Kerrigan Hagan is on, and she's an 8th grader, and she, like I said, she and her team beat E-Town 1-0 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
If she's real sharp, and when I mean sharp, don't walk a lot and things like that, makes Barron earn it, then, the game has an opportunity to be closer. Problem for Glasgow is I don't know if they've scored a run this year against Bogue.
No.
So, they're going to score. They're going to score themselves. They're
right.
going to put up a couple of runs themselves to have a chance to. I mean, it'd be a monumental upset for a really young team. Now, listen, if you're Glasgow, there is 0 pressure.
Right.
I mean, they've got so many middle school players out there, so there's no pressure on them at all.
Right.
So, they just need to go out there and loose and free and so forth. Everybody expects Barron to win, and Barron should win, but that they don't just give you these games.
Yeah, well, and clearly, going back to that Barron Allen game, there was an incentive to win the game for both teams, really. But Barron really showed up with that incentive in mind. It looked like, and played that way, and that was to not get locked in that 2-3 game, because even though Barron beat East both times they played them this year, they were both close games that Barron, put up a couple of runs in an inning, and that was basically the difference in the game. I mean, I think it was like 5-3 and 6-4 or something like that.
Well,
the two games.
I think we've said all year in softball, it's 3 of the top 5 teams in the region are in this district. Barron, Allen, and East are 3 of the top 5 teams. Now, South Warren's the best team in the state.
Yeah.
And I think you could probably put Greenwood as the second best team, and not in the state, but in this region, but probably top 10, top 15 in the state.
Yeah.
And then you 3, 4, and 5. I don't think it's that arguable that the next 3 best teams in the region are Allen, Barron, and East.
Yeah. Well, our last polls of the regular season came out today, and South Warren was 1, Greenwood was still 3. Barron's at 20 and Allen's at 21. East got knocked out of the top 25. But, yeah, but I mean, to punctuate your point there, and I'm not, Allen actually beat Greenwood in a game a couple of weeks ago. So, I mean, they're obviously going back to what you said, one of those teams will not be playing in the regional tournament. And, that's just going to be the facts of the matter. And so that was part of the incentive last Wednesday, was to not make your path more difficult than it had to be. And Barron put it in the situation where that is the case for Allen and Warren East now playing each other. And, it'll be a good game tonight. Those games are going to be played at Glasgow High School, for folks who don't know that. So Barron games at 5:30, and the East Allen will start around 7, just, depending on the timetable, I guess.
Yeah, like I said, weather should be good.
Yeah. And, again, that draw will be Thursday at 4 o'clock. Hopefully we get the district tournaments in. So we won't know the Region 4 tournament schedule. We do know the games will be played Memorial Day at WKU. We don't know who will be playing when on Memorial Day. Anything else from the high school softball you can think of there, John?
No, just like I said, just same as baseball. Just hope we got good weather the next couple of weeks.
Yep. All right, it's Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
There's all kinds of postseasons going on at the moment. We had a regional track meet on Tuesday. The Glasgow athletes competed at McLean County in the Class 1A Region 2 meet. And Jarek Martin won the long jump, 23 feet, 3.5 inches. He won that event by 2 feet, John.
That's good.
It is.
That's dominating that region.
Yeah.
I don't know where that puts him at the state level, but that's for somebody first year just goes out and do it. That's a pretty good first year.
Yeah. I'd say 23 feet, 3.5 inches is pretty good in the Class A state meet, if you can go up there and do that. But I think that jump was probably 2.5 feet better than he had done already this year. So, I mean, he exponentially, at least in long jump numbers, improved his distance. And I think he broke the school record with that while he was at it by probably close to 2 feet.
Well, that's real impressive.
Yeah.
Because they've had a rich tradition of
Yep.
good athletes in track at Glasgow.
Yep. So, like I said, that puts him probably in pretty good shape for the state meet, which is Thursday, May 27th or whatever that is. It's not this week, but next week up in Lexington at the University of Kentucky. Olivia Wood won the girls' long jump, and Taylor Wilton won the 100-meter dash. The Glasgow girls also won the 4x100 relay. That was Wilson, Danica Stevens, Aniston Young, and Cynthia Austin. And they won the 4x400. That was Wood, Stevens, Kylie Elmore, and Carolee Gentry.
Well, that's 5 winners. That's good.
Yeah, so they had a good day. They had several.
And Cynthia Austin, I assume, placed in some of those other events, right?
Yeah, she was second in the triple jump. I think she was like just an inch or so off there. The girl that beat her, they've been pretty close to each other all year. Okay. So, and by the way, you talking about that region also includes Greene County and Owensboro Catholic, who usually are pretty good in track and field stuff.
Oh, yeah. Greene County is good. It just Greene normally goes to Bardstown, that area. A little surprised there at McLean County.
Yeah. They rearranged that region because I was looking and
Greene's normally with Holy Cross, the Louisville schools,
yeah,
Bardstown, and things like that. So
they've kind of been back and forth. So Glasgow and Greene have been in a region together before, back like in 2010 to
Glasgow's
2015
also been in
somewhere.
2A.
Yeah, they've been up in 2A. I think this is their first year back in the 1A, so they ended up back in this region with Greene County. So Greene and Glasgow have kind of moved around and ended up together and apart from each other through the years. But, yeah, it was kind of an odd alignment to have Owensboro Catholic and McLean County. I think Fort Knox was in there. Several of those kinds of schools were in there. Russellville. So, anyway, it was a pretty good region overall when I was looking at just the times and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, they had 4 winners. Like I said, Cynthia Austin was second in the triple jump. And I think they had a couple of others that were like third place, and they could qualify for state just depending on
time.
Yeah, what your times or distances are as they go across the state once everything's finished. Barron County runs today at Bowling Green. I'd expect Gracie Reed to have a pretty good day. I know I saw that she was set to run in the 1600 and maybe the 3200. And then Grayson Billingsley in the boys discus, and
He'll be one of the favorites.
Yeah, he would be right there. He's competing against a guy from North Hardin, I believe, who is won the state last year and has been like one of the best in the state the last couple of years. So he's going to be pretty close to him, but he's only like a couple of feet off of him. And that you get in these competitive regions, you never know what it might, you could improve by 3 feet or whatever, something like that. And then Riley Wilson probably would be a favorite in discus and shot. She's right there in both of them. I think there's somebody else who's real close to her in both of those two.
And Brody Miller will also be competitive, won't he?
Well, here's the thing. I was looking at the entries, and I did not see him entered in any events.
Okay.
And I'm not sure. I've not checked with anybody to see what the deal was, because the entries were supposed to have been completed by Thursday. So everybody who's going to be entered should be, and maybe it's just not updated online.
Okay.
So I'm not 100% certain about that. If he is running, he would be one of the, in the 16 and 3200, I would say, would be one of the top runners. At the regional tennis tournament that was Friday and Saturday, and it actually continues today, but all of our locals have been knocked out of it. Addison McFall, she reached a quarterfinal in the girls singles, had a pretty good run in the tournament. The Glasgow boys double team of Hudson Woody and Kason Peters also reached the quarterfinals. This is the individual tennis tournament that no longer is used to also calculate the team score, because they have their own team tournament that was the week before.
That Greenwood, I believe, won, right?
Yeah, that's right. And so, I don't know what to say about this anymore other than what I just did. There were several other people who played. I think 2 or 3 of them got out of the first round. Several of them did not. It just depended. If you were matched up with the Greenwood or South Warren person at any point in time, you generally were going to take the L on that one, and that's kind of what happened. So that's the other sports. That means we won't have any state qualifiers, I wouldn't think, unless there's something I don't know about qualifying for state. Usually I think you have to at least get to the semifinals.
Yeah, they do a lot of tinkering around with the tennis.
Yeah, they do. And I think there's discussion to do more tinkering because of the number of courts available to be played on at the place where the state tournament is played. So at the last Board of Control meeting, they were discussing the numbers playing at the state tennis tournament and having to reduce those because there's not enough available courts so that they can't run the tournament in a timely fashion. I guess we'll see what happens. Anything else about the track or tennis you can think of, John?
Just, again, I wish everybody the best of luck in Barron today, and hopefully we'll have some winners and some state qualifiers, and congratulations to the Glasgow guys and gals who obviously ran and jumped quite well.
Yep. We've got a report already online from the Glasgow regional meet, and we'll get one up whenever the Barron meet is done. Probably won't be until in the morning, but maybe tonight, depending on what the timing is. All right. It's the Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Well, John, there was a fancy horse race on Saturday. the second leg of the Triple Crown, but there will not be a Triple Crown winner this year because the winner sovereignty of the
Kentucky Derby winner.
Yes, the Kentucky Derby winner opted not to run in the Preakness. So the runner-up won the Preakness instead, journalism. But I understand it was a heck of a race.
Oh, it was a great race. Great race. I don't know how he won it, to be honest with you, because he was by far the best horse, but he had by far the most trouble. Try to go through a hole in the final turn that probably wasn't there. Try to squeeze through and kind of got halfway there, and then the other horse caved down on him. He basically stopped, and I don't know. Somehow he made up about 6 lengths in about 100 yards to win at the wire. It was a great performance.
So is that an expert jockey move, or is the horse just smarter than the jockey and figured out a way?
I don't think it was a great jockey move. I think probably the jockey was responsible for getting him in trouble.
Right.
Probably the better move would have gone wide, because he had so much horse. But
yeah.
I think the horse overcame the jockey this time. It's kind of like sometimes a good team overcomes a coach.
Yeah.
This is probably one of those.
That horse, the whole time that horse is like, look, man, I'll win this. You just shut up and sit down.
Yeah, because that was a tough ride, but boy, it was a great race.
And then in college softball, we had a legitimate upset.
First time in college softball history that the number 1 seed failed to advance to the Super Regional.
Yeah. So Liberty, which won the Conference USA tournament, beat Texas A&M twice in the regional.
At Texas A&M.
At Texas A&M.
Yeah. Now let me say let's be fair to Texas A&M.
Okay.
They got shafted by the softball committee. The number 1 seed should not have Liberty in their 14 pod. Liberty last year, if people have forgotten or care about it, in the regional was up 2-1 against Georgia.
Yeah.
Winner goes to the World Series. 2 out in the 7th, and Georgia hits a 2-run homer to beat them.
Yeah.
So Liberty was good last year, even better this year, and why they were sent there doesn't make any sense to me. Still an upset, but Texas A&M should not have been put with them. In fairness to Texas A&M, but
do you think the Conference USA kind of, because they won Conference USA, but the 2 seed was WKU.
They actually lost the game in the tournament in Conference. Jacksonville State beat them down in WKU.
Right.
Yeah. And
WKU was the 2 seed in the conference tournament, despite having like what were they? They had like 9 losses or whatever, 7 losses in the conference. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the conference was kind of muddy. So maybe that clouded how the Cedars saw Liberty.
Possible, or they just went by, stats without watching them or whatever. But, it's the same team last year that, like I said. But just an incredible performance. The All-American pitcher for Texas A&M pitched 3 games against Liberty and gave up, I think, 7 or 8 homers. I mean, they were on her. And the last game in which Liberty scored 5 in the 6th to come back to beat A&M in the last game.
Right.
And Texas A&M, I know they went through 3 pitchers just in that 6th inning. Mm-hmm. Just great performance by Liberty. And
you don't see that much in college softball either.
No, and it's great for Conference USA. How long they can keep Liberty is another question.
Yeah.
Because Liberty just looks like a program. It's just, they're a private school that has an enormous amount of money and resources, and they are good at every sport, football included.
Yep. So do you think they can also beat Oregon? That's who they'll play a best-of-3 series against?
Yeah, Oregon was the last of they're the 16th of the 16-seeded team.
Yes.
So basically, Liberty has taken over the number 1 seed.
Right.
The problem is they don't get to host.
Yeah.
So they'll go to Oregon, but they're very capable of beating Oregon if they're not exhausted. The pitcher for Liberty pitched every game down there. Mm-hmm. Not every inning, but most of them. She was exhausted, so she's going to have to refuel before they play either Thursday or Friday up. And it's a tough trip, A&M. I don't know if they'll go back to Virginia and then to Oregon. I don't know how they're going to get there.
Right.
But their pitching would be my concern.
Well, it would seem that for them, the pitching is important, as it always is, but the truth is their work at the plate is what's really getting them by.
It is. That's exactly right. And, it's it was just great TV to watch. I watched a lot of it this weekend. I will say the SEC, even though they lost Texas A&M and they lost LSU, both who were hosting regionals, they still have 9 out of the 16 teams left. Yeah. That's how dominant they are.
So good chance an SEC team wins the title?
Well, there's a good chance, but in 2 of the super regionals, which you only face 2 teams, it's 2 out of 3, or SEC teams faced off with each other. That's not easy,
Right.
So there's going to be 2 automatically gone.
Right. So do you think who's the favorite now to win?
Well, there's 3 now. I'm sorry. Oklahoma and Alabama are also matched up against
right.
each other.
Yes.
I think Oklahoma. I mean, they've won it 4 straight years, 5 straight years, and they're the overall number 2 seed. I think they'll be hard to beat.
Yeah. You don't Florida State, do you think there's maybe an outside chance they can win it?
No, outside chance. Mean they're one of the 2 ACC teams left, and they are a dominant program. But I would not bet against Oklahoma.
Right. The NBA playoffs, we got a Game 7 that turned out to be a terrible Game 7. Every Game 7 I think that we've had this year has been a terrible Game 7, no matter how good the series have been.
Been a lot of blowouts.
Yeah. And so we end up with the Thunder and the Timberwolves playing tomorrow night in the Western Conference Finals, and then the Pacers and Knicks on Wednesday. It looks like the Thunder are the team to beat, just period.
No question, they're the team to beat. By far, they're the best team. They've got the MVP of the league this year, and
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
And they're also the deepest team.
Yes,
they've got size, they got depth. They can go 10, 11 deep, unlike probably anybody left in the league. Maybe Indiana's got depth too, but they don't have a player like Alexander though. So I would be surprised if OKC doesn't win it. They've been the best team all year, and they were tested by Denver going 7 games. It's probably going to help them.
Right.
And I like them a lot better than I like Minnesota. I'm not a big Minnesota fan, so I do like OKC. The New York and the Pacers should be a really good series.
Flashbacks.
They've had a lot of great runs throughout the year, those 2 teams, so that should be a good one too. But, I think OKC is the favorite to win it all.
I do think it's a case of in the Thunder and the Timberwolves, maybe a more wide open, even though the Timberwolves are kind of a gritty team. I mean, if you've got the kind of makeup of the team they have, they're kind of a gritty team. The Thunder are kind of more free-flowing, with the number of players. They're going to attack you in several different ways. But the Pacers and Knicks look like when I say old school in a way, it might be a grind-them-out kind of series.
I think that series will go 7. I'm not for sure the other series will go 7.
No.
I think OKC will win in 6 maybe. I could see it going 5. I think they're clearly better to me than Minnesota. The other one I think could go any direction.
Yeah. So you don't think Julius Randle's going to elevate the Timberwolves?
No, I do not. No, I mean, he's had a great playoff.
He has indeed.
He really has, but he's going to face more size than he's faced against anybody else. OKC's got great size, length. I mean, they've got defenders.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really, really good.
I do think that's the thing that is the difference. This Thunder team can wear you down just by the number of people they can put out on the floor and defend your guys.
Yep.
And even though it didn't always look like that in the series against the Nuggets, because there's no answer to Jokic when you get right down to it.
He just wore out.
Yeah.
They just don't have enough players.
Yeah. So I mean, they in essence in Game 7 we saw the final outcome.
Yeah, they just wore
that.
out. I mean, they've it's hard to play 6.
Yeah.
That many games in a row with only 1 day off. That's kind of what happened. They just kind of wore down.
I will say, even though I prefer probably watching the Thunder Timberwolves play each other, I might enjoy this Pacers-Knicks series more.
Probably going to have more drama.
Yeah, because you got some personalities in that. It's going to be fascinating to watch them play against each other. I agree with that. All right, it's the Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. If you stick around about 15 minutes, you can catch a baseball game or a softball game, depending on which one you want to listen to, 103.1 and 104.7. Talk to you next week.
You've been listening to the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU. Be sure to join James and John again next Monday at 4 for another edition of the Brown Sports Bag.